So if you've seen my video on the 5 product development mistakes that people don't know they're making, you have seen why not having product tiers can hurt your sales. I kept it short in that video, but today I'm going to go into the details about how having product tiers can increase your number of sales as well as the average expenditure per sale, thanks to the impact of psychological pricing. So in today's video, I'm going to go over a particular strategy for configuring your product tiers called the good, better, best strategy. But what is a good, better, best pricing strategy anyway? Well, simply put, it is a particular case of product versioning where all the versions share the basic features and you gradually add features to create the improved version. So let's say you have a basic version of a product or service. This basic version is your good one. So it's a nice, simple version of your product that covers the basic needs, but that can be improved upon. The better version would then include all of what your basic offer includes, plus something. Now, for the duration of this video, let's just put aside worries about diabetes, obesity, and all the other sugar-induced health problems and assume that gluttony is a good thing, okay? So you might have a third best version, which included all of what the better offer includes, plus something. That way, we would have 3 versions, each version improving on the previous. Note that it's very important that the versions always add to the previous, but no existing characteristics are changed. When you start changing characteristics from one version to the next, your potential clients may not see it as an improvement anymore. Your idea of an improvement may not coincide with theirs. Therefore, it's not a good, better, best approach anymore. If each version doesn't just add to the previous, you're forcing your customer to make a choice that goes beyond going for an improved version. And that's exactly what we don't want to do in this case. We don't want to make the customer think harder. Now, if you pay attention to the ice creams I showed, this is a terrible example because it's not really a good, better, best strategy, is it? Because to begin, the cone is completely different. The one on the right may not be an improvement versus the ones on the left and middle for some people. And unless you can choose the flavors, the one in the middle is missing the white, vanilla, cream, whatever flavor. Anyway, if someone loves that particular flavor, the ice cream in the middle isn't an improvement over the one on the left. So that person's decision process isn't as simple as do I want 1 or 2 scoops. It becomes, do I want 2 scoops, 1 chocolate and 1 strawberry, which I like, or only 1 scoop, but vanilla, my favorite flavor. Again, for purposes of this video, gluttony is a good thing. So the purchase decision process gets more complicated. And that's not a good thing. It can lead to the potential customer delaying his purchase or even buying something else entirely instead of one of our products. Since he's having trouble choosing among ice creams, he may go for pancakes. Now, why does a good, better, best strategy work so well anyway? To begin, it simplifies the potential customer's decision process, making it more likely that he'll buy. Then, it creates a high anchor price through the price of the best version, increasing the chances that the better version's price feels more acceptable. This increases the average expenditure per purchase. And finally, because as with other types of product versioning, it allows to take advantage of different segments, preferences, and willingnesses to pay. Let's see how. Let's start by taking a look at the psychological impact of a good, better, best pricing strategy on the purchasing decision. So, as I said before, the good, better, best offer simplifies the purchase decision making. On one side, we know that some potential clients are price-oriented. We can simplify these people's lives by having a simple yet functional option available for them. So, price-oriented customers have a lower price option available. Those who are looking for only basic features and want to spend as little as possible can clearly see which option is best for them. And if you'd like to have more details about why this is important, check out my video about the negative impact of offering too many product options. On the opposite side, We know that some people always want the best possible option. So, with quality-oriented customers in mind, we have an option with all the available features included. These guys who always want the best also know exactly which option to buy. Their decision process is very simple. And then there are those in the middle, and there are a lot of reasons to go with the middle option. So, why is the middle such a great option for so many? Well, the thing is, the middle option caters to a lot of potential customers' needs because, to begin, some people just fear that going with the cheapest option will make them look cheap. So they buy the second cheapest to avoid being judged. It really is that simple. Then there are those who don't understand the product well enough to be able to judge its quality. So they'll use the price as an indicator of that quality. Simply put, they don't want a basic option which they think might be too basic. But they know they don't need the most complex version either. So the middle one it is. Very similar to this, some people don't really know what features they need. So they go with the version that they feel it's the safe option. That's the one that's likely to cover all their basic needs and have some important additional features that they don't yet know if they'll need, but that they prefer to have just to be safe, So the option in the middle it is. Lastly, others just have a hard time making decisions in general. So they pick the compromise option, one that's not too fancy, not too simple. The one in the middle. So, when you don't have a middle option, you're making all these people's decision process harder. They have to put in more work to buy from you. And another important thing is that people don't generally like take it or leave it offers. So, if you only have one option available, you may be forcing people to go look for alternatives elsewhere. People like to have freedom of choice. So it might be a good idea to give them several options yourself instead of forcing them to go elsewhere to see what else is out there. So now that we've seen how a good, better, best strategy can help customers choosing among products, it's now time to see the second way in which it can help you. And that is by establishing an anchor that will lead to a higher expenditure per purchase. So as I said before, a good, better, best strategy also helps establishing an anchor. And how does that one work? Well, it's been shown that by having a higher priced best option available, this helps increase the sales of the mid-price better option versus the cheaper good basic version. But why would that work? Well, it happens because buyers change their line of thought from seeing the better version only has more expensive version than the good one to seeing it has cheaper than the best version. So if you only had the two lower price options available, good and better, customers who purchased the better version might feel guilty that they were overspending. After all, they selected the most expensive option in the market. This guilt can be decreased by the availability of the higher priced best version. And why? Because now, instead of I've purchased the most expensive version in the market, their line of thought becomes I've spent a bit more, but it could have been a lot worse. Compared to the best option, I've actually saved a lot of money. And another important aspect of this higher anchor is that it helps strengthening the message that higher value comes at a higher price. Want more features? Fine, but you have to pay more. And this is important because it somewhat deters people from wanting large discounts or a lot of freebies thrown in. When you show people how the additional features increase the product's price, they stop expecting you to give them away for free. Who hasn't had that client? Anyway, the previous reasons may not seem like the most rational ones on which to base a purchase decision. In fact, the general preference for the middle discussed in this video seems to originate from a lack of information, from psychological aspects that have very little to do with selecting the best option for your needs, or even from not understanding the product in the first place. So obviously, this will not work for every type of product. However, even from a rational standpoint, a good, better, best strategy still makes a lot of sense as it allows us to target different customer segments, even if all these behavioral aspects weren't at play. So we still need to go over 1. How having product tiers can help you take advantage of different segments' willingness to pay, even during a completely irrational purchase decision. And 2. Over the key thing that you must make sure that you do for your good, better, best strategy to be successful. And that's an important detail. This video would be too long though, since the part missing is a bit more complex. So I'll leave all of that for next week's video. And I suspect by now you probably already have had enough of me for a weekend. In any case, if you find this good, better, best strategy interesting, I suggest watching a video by Derek Halpern, which I'll link below. In that video, he goes over 2 interesting examples, and he sure can make anything sound way more exciting than I ever could. So there's that. Anyway, I hope you liked this video and see you in the next one. Bye!